All right, episode 69.
Nice.
Most common objections real estate agents face. We're going to get started right now.
Welcome to the only real estate podcast worth listening to, with your hosts Nick Good, Matt Kelderman, and Brian Force. Combined, they have 26 years of experience and have sold over 1,500 homes. Join them each week as they bring you everything you need to know about real estate. And now, here are your hosts, Nick, Matt, and Brian.
All right, episode 69.
Sweet.
We're going to talk about the most common objections real estate agents are facing right now and the how to kind of hurdle those roadblocks.
Hurdle those roadblocks. I feel like you mismatched a few different analogies
so?
there. I don't know.
You
Maybe.
can't- You don't hurdle them?
Have you guys ever seen the movie Boondock Saints?
Of course.
With like the old guy who like mixes up all this stuff and he's like, people in glass houses sink ships
Yeah.
or some shit like that. Like, it's so good. He just mixes
So
everything
random.
up. I love that guy.
All right, if this is your first time watching or listening, please go over to the only real estate group worth being a part of. It's an amazing Facebook group that's really, it's growing again.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
numbers are going up. It's a great place to share. I shared my team agreement in there today.
You did. That was pretty. Even I saw that. I was like, that's pretty awesome of him. That's
Yeah.
like legit. Like if you're building a business and a team, like getting that type of detail and like little value pieces is huge. Because I'll tell you, when I first brought on my first few buyers agents, I opened up the E-Myth Revisited, and I was like, what can I learn about agree? I took them straight off of there, and I don't think they were binding at all, to be honest with you. So like those are little details that people don't think about. So that was a pretty cool value piece.
And if you're looking to increase the number of sellers that you're working with, right? I know that Matt Kelderman just beat one of my agents.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Yep, took a listing from us.
Yeah.
Now our family can't eat.
I'm
So
Never going to Colorado
Yep,
again.
there goes
one for 3 against the good home team.
there
right
goes
now.
our lake house. So thanks a lot.
Yeah.
You were invited. You were on the list.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's what took the lake house down.
Yeah.
I know the behind the scene conversation about the lake house. I guarantee my listing ain't touching that problem.
So if you're looking to increase your listing count, I will tell you right now, I think we're at 16 or 17. Elizabeth just signed one today.
Nice.
For the month of June. So go over to touracademy.com/take10 TEN, and you'll sign up for the Take 10 webinar, and you'll learn all the secrets, tips, and tricks of how we're taking more listings.
Yeah. Speaking of listings, I feel like that's what we're going to talk about today.
I think it's everything, right? So we asked in the only real estate group worth being a part of, what were some of the objections that you're facing right now, right? And a lot of them I knew. There's ones that I asked this on my team meeting, every Tuesday and Friday. There's stuff that we really can't hurdle those,
Sure.
right? Job security, what's going on with COVID,
Yep.
everything like that, right? And I haven't found a way to kind of side skirt that and say, you know what, don't worry about your job.
Right.
It's probably secure.
Where do
Go
you
ahead.
work? Oh, you're fine.
Yeah, go ahead and buy. I just read in the news your job's
Yeah.
great, right? But what are some of the most common objections that you guys, your team, the Herd Group, is facing right now?
Well, I went on one today, and I think, I don't want to talk so much just about all the generic ones that we typically see, because I think we can get a lot of those covered in like any kind of script book that you've ever purchased for
Sure.
anybody ever, right? But like, I think some of what we're finding right now is that people are listing for have to reasons, right? We went on one today where the gentleman had been listed last year. It's a house that needs full remodel, but it's in a neighborhood that can totally support it. The layout's great, the lot's killer, right? But he shouldn't touch any of it because he's not going to touch all of it.
Right.
So he and I had to have a conversation around, and he's got some extenuating circumstances in his life, right? There's a family member who's kind of towards the end. It's time to enjoy the time you have left with somebody, right? So we sat there for 30 minutes, and it was only a 30-minute appointment, right? We sat there for 30 minutes talking around how that was going to be more important than him essentially taking potentially 6 figures to make a house the way he thinks he wants somebody else to like it. And I feel like sometimes as real estate agents, we're afraid to have that type of conversation with somebody because it doesn't fit in, and it parlays into a little bit of the listings that I've taken in the past week too. It doesn't fit into that little scripting box that we're uncomfortable playing in that sandbox a little bit. But this guy legitimately does not need to be focused on remodeling a house right now. He needs to sell this house to somebody who's going to take it on in its current format and move forward. So I would like a little bit of this conversation, not to be around the generic stuff we hear, but how we're staying super nimble in these conversations, because that was one today that had he not told me what was going on in his life, I probably wouldn't have thought to take it that route in the first place, right? And it makes all the difference in the advice I give him. Because the last thing he should do is drop $125,000 in 6 weeks of his time right now into a house that he's just going to turn around and sell, because it's not going to work out super great for you most likely.
100%. And I think that's a really specific situation, and obviously, and Kelderman is the master of staying nimble in those types of conversations. I will say maybe on the more generic front, we're getting what feels like those same objections that you get in like October and November, where people are like, we're going to wait till spring. I feel like we're kind of getting those same ones, but it's more like we're going to wait and see how this plays out or whatever. And part of it, from my perspective, is going back to, this is kind of what separates really nimble agents and conversations from people that kind of just get through on resilience and follow-up, is it's just being super educated. We had our call with our franchise CEO, Adam Hergenroth, yesterday, and he was talking about new build construction starts and supply and demand. And I was like sitting in the background on silent, like, I've been saying this shit for like 6 weeks now. But understanding what's going on in the market, understanding the legitimacy of the supply and demand course for things like new construction and all that type of stuff, that's going to enable you to have very, very seamless conversations with people that are on the fence. The reality is, if I'm looking to sell a home right now and I'm not quite sure, I don't know that there's going to be a better time to put your home on the market than right now, because there is incredibly low rates, which are helping to bolster demand. I will say, and depending on where your market is, this might be different. So obviously take this with a little bit of a grain of salt. Our market has seen pretty serious demand on the buy side right now. We're in multiple offer situations. You're doing it with a freaking lake house right now. You can't even buy a vacation home in North Texas area right now, or at least the outskirts, without being in a bidding war, right? And that combined with the fact that, here's the deal. Guess who's not going to have the objection, I'm going to wait to put it on until spring? New construction builders, right? And so as more buyers come into the market and take advantage of lower rates, and we're already kind of behind on new build starts, people that are waiting to hold off to see what happens are going to probably be in for a little bit of a rude awakening when the world doesn't just snap back to normal in 6 months and they're good to go, right? They're competing against newer construction right now. And they're competing against time, in the sense that these low rates and a lot of the stops that are being pulled out to kind of equalize things and keep real estate moving forward, they're not going to last forever. So I think that understanding the ball game a little bit and being able to talk a little bit about the nuances and the details of kind of what go into the current market environment make for really, really good conversations. If you can convey those thoughts, and again, this is what Kelderman does really well, if you can convey those thoughts in a candid way without coming off pushy or like a know-it-all.
Well, and I think a little bit of it for me is just probably is what we talked about the last couple of weeks, but me not taking paperwork to the listing appointment, shoving stuff from them, where it backfires in certain situations. In the real life, like, let's put emotions before money type of situations, it plays incredibly well.
100%. And you're going to deal with a lot of emotional people right now that are considering making one decision on another based more on what they're seeing in the news, which is neither here nor there, than they are on probably real hard data.
I'll tell you one of the things I'm seeing right now, and I think this might just be a little specific to me, is like I've got a lot of past clients who haven't held their houses very long who want to move right now. That's been kind of a difficult conversation around their equity and what their realistic expectations should be. Some people have opted to be like, look, if I'm just going to break even, I'm fine with that because I kind of want to move or this, whatever. Like I've got one person who's thinking about putting their condo on the market because their upstairs neighbor is a freaking nightmare, right? Like that's one of the crappy things about buying a condo sometimes is you don't know that until it's way too late. And so they're just kind of over it, and there's a little bit of wiggle room, but they're not going to make a bunch. So I've been having a lot of those conversations lately too, which I just found weird.
Well, I know we can read what in the only real estate group worth being a part of, we can read some of those objections in there. But so I started building this out for my team training on Friday, right? And so let's break it down. What is a sales an objection, and what is a sales objection? So a sales objection is an explicit expression by a buyer that a barrier exists between the current situation and what needs to be satisfied before buying from you, right? So there's really, and I pulled this from Salesforce, right? So Salesforce.com has a good blog article on it just to be able to help visualize,
Sure.
the steps and the hurdles here, right? And so they're really saying there's 4 types of objections that you're going to face. It's price or risk, quality of service, trust and or relationship, and a stall tactic.
Okay.
Right? And so, I always look at what do I do if I'm looking at a new car, or if someone's, even the other day I'll give you a prime example. I was looking for a mosquito service, right? Because somehow the mosquitoes always attack Heather and Asher every time. Like we could go outside right now and they would come from a mile away and just destroy them. And so, Heather's been asking, can you get someone out here to handle that? Well, I started shopping them around, and there's been some good people on the phone trying to close. Right. And, I'm like, let me discuss it over. Let me talk about it, right? I'll give a stall tactic so I don't have to give you that answer right now, right? Because I don't want to be a jerk, because what if I have to come back?
Right.
100%.
Right? So we've got to understand what people are doing. Are they giving you the stall so that that way you don't come off too pressury and too salesy? Because what will that do? That will just push them away.
Yep.
Right? I remember early on in my career where looking back, there was more stall tactics. I'm like, all right, if you sign right now, it's like a look-in lease. If you sign right now, I'll do it for this commission rate. And
But wait,
yes,
there's more.
yeah, and they're like, well, why didn't you offer me that commission in the beginning? Or then you had some people who would test it and be like, well, I'm not going to sign right now, but I'm going to ask for it in 2 days.
Yeah.
And then what are you going to say? No.
It depends on how long you've been sitting there stewing over how bad you need that deal.
Yes. Right? And so it's understanding, really breaking this down and understanding what that person is and being, really aware.
Yep.
There's in some of our training that we do, we always bring up a former agent that was on our team, and he ran a listing appointment. And, if we could probably interview him today, he probably thought he nailed it. And Elizabeth was like sitting there. She was observing and shadowing, and she's like, there's no way he has it. And he just, going for the close, he just slid the paperwork over. And he was shocked that he didn't get it.
No, he did. They didn't even sign it.
He
got
did
full
not
on
get it.
pushback.
It
Did
just
not
had this
get it,
image
right?
in my head of him doing it super slowly.
Yes.
There's a number on
Making
the other
like
side of this
weird
paper.
direct eye contact.
Right, and it's understanding this. Like, I don't know why we start to break this down when we get into meeting people. Are we so focused on the commission and so focused on that end result that you just want to just you lose all sense of what you think that person's thinking.
Sure.
It's you and I talked about it today. I think there's we use the word nimble on the show a lot, and I really hope people hear the context with which we use that word. It's not like that word is specifically chosen for the thought process that you need to have, not just in business in general, but also in listing appointments, in conversations with prospective business partners or potential listings or buyers. You really need to be able to adjust on the fly, and unfortunately, I think it's something that can be learned. I also think that if you don't have the ability to do it, it looks like it's something that's impossible. And if you do it kind of naturally, you don't understand why other people can't really adjust that will. But I will tell you, it is the only reason I get 90% of the business I get. I've said on this show, I am not the most scripted agent. I am not the agent who can come in there and overwhelm you with certain types of things. My ability to just listen to what the other person is saying and kind of adjust in mid-conversation is the whole reason I still have a real estate license.
Well, and I will tell you, I mean, to give you a definite answer, I know that it's learned, right? So if you're taking actionable advice away from this might be a little bit grim, but I will tell you that it can be learned. If you're feeling like you're struggling in listing appointments right now and you're really practicing and you're trying very hard and you're working on your presentation, your scripts, and it's just not working, understand that it's just repetition. I used to just blow every appointment because I was just trying to focus on my scripts and this is what I was going to say. And then the problem is the other team doesn't always play ball, meaning you know what I mean?
They don't give you the answer you need.
You practice scripts for some hypothetical situation that never plays out that way. And then you're kind of stuck when you can't be nimble. And I will tell you that the only way to get through that, like I said, it might be kind of grim, is just repetition. You're going to have a little heartbreak,
So
but
with
just
that,
push through.
here's what I'll say. With that, practice makes perfect, 100%. But practicing the right way.
Yeah.
When you are going through repetition and it's just reading off, so this is from Lab Coat's a blog article from Lab Coat's agents. The problem that a lot of real estate agents have is that they're afraid of objections, right?
Sure.
For whatever reason, even though we know it's coming, right? We're afraid of that, and we did not prepare to have the answer, right? And what happens if you don't have the answer? We're afraid of looking stupid.
Yep.
And so then you start to stumble over yourself, right? Then you,
Or you just make some shit up.
it's kind of like
That comes back to haunt you later on.
I always visualize it like this, right? I always visualize it like someone learning to ride a bike, and all of a sudden they get shaky wheel.
Yeah.
And then that shaky wheel just keeps going, and it's out of control, and then boom, they crash, right? I imagine that's the same thing that happens when it goes when you start to
That's a good
you're
analogy.
you're not prepared, and they throw an objection out there, and you think you have to answer it right then and there, right?
Yeah.
Like there's things that I've run across. I'm like, you know what? You've got me. But here's what I will do.
Yep.
Yeah,
Let me find the
exactly,
answer.
dude.
Let's pocket that question, and I'm not going to just make up some ridiculous answer just so you think I know it. Because one, if it's dead wrong and you hired me, you're going to call me on that bullshit.
Real
Right.
quick.
Well, it forces you to learn too, right? The constantly BSing your way through conversations, that just kind of makes you a sociopath, right? Being human and being able to connect with someone and say, I don't know, but let me find out. I'll get back to you in 2 hours, whatever it is. Now you're forced to go out and actually find that information. And you do that enough times, you usually don't have to ask for stuff anymore because you're just learning. That's sort of the normal process.
Well, and I think like just from a training perspective, you think of all that ways that impacts your business. Not only do you learn how to actually do like the technical side of going and finding that information, you then know the information. You then show the client that your follow-up and your word means something,
Exactly.
right? That's how you get referrals, guys. Like you don't get referrals from like the ability to like get listing agreements signed. Like you get referrals from the fact that like people after that listing agreement was signed, after they've closed the house, a year later, they think like, you know, that was kind of an exceptional job.
Yeah.
Like that was more than I would have expected.
Use it as a tool. That's actually a really good point, right? Because we actually had a conversation. We had a conversation about this about a prospective business partner recently, right? Matt and I have, and I think all three of us have a shared despising viewpoint of people that just sort of talk their way through every conversation, meaning like they've always got something to say back. They've always got an answer for every question. Like they just talk a mile a minute and stuff like that. And I can understand from their viewpoint, they think that they're crushing it. You know what I mean? And then they'll get out of the meeting and Matt's like, I fucking hate that dude.
Yeah, I
And
could
I'm
not
like, seriously, I wanted to strangle that guy. You know what I mean?
Well, one of the-
Don't be like that as an agent. Here's the thing. Use it as a tool. You can set yourself up. I tell our agents all the time, do what you say you're going to do, or say what you're going to do and then do it. I do that with follow-ups. I'm like, don't ever just say you're going to follow up with someone. Tell them you're going to follow up with them on Wednesday at noon. You know why? It takes 2 extra words for you to say that. When 12 o'clock at noon rolls around on Wednesday, they forgot that you're even going to follow up with them then. But then when that phone rings, they go like, holy shit, this dude called me at noon, like
Yeah.
you said. Same thing with, you know, not knowing.
Look, you'll win it on that. And so back to this Lab Coats article, it talks about, afraid of objections and straight up scripting memorization doesn't really do the trick, right? Because then you sound like a robot. It's not, you got to make it conversational. So that's when you start practicing that part, right? It's having these types of conversations to where then we can make it into story. Just like, Brian Murray lost out to you on that listing yesterday. And one of the analogies we used on that house, right? That was a really, really large house, right?
Yes.
Needs a good price correction in there. But we used the analogy, and it stuck with the seller on that one. It was a large house, but it had very little bathrooms. So it's like having a monster truck with tiny wheels.
It's the best thing ever.
Right? And so it's having those conversations and being able to and flow it into whatever that objection that they're facing.
Yep.
And so Salesforce, back to Salesforce talks about, and by the way, they have some amazing blog articles when it comes to just understanding just the sales process.
Get better
There's so much information out there. Like, I posted that post yesterday about like the under $100 thing, and like Logan Graff commented some book. I ordered that book.
Is it
You know,
Grit?
No, it was something else.
Is it?
I
It's
need
not
to
Grit
get
Factor?
I need to get the Grit book because you talk about it all the
Yeah.
time. But like I ordered this book and I'm like, this is just gonna go in the massive pile of freaking books I always order from Amazon. Jeff Bezos is laughing his ass off of me because $16 at a time he is just taking me to the cleaners for
say
something
that,
that I
dude.
will never use.
You're not
for
alone.
something.
I have.
This is-
If you guys have ever seen
This
my
is
home
definitely not
office,
that.
that's
Yeah,
a good
not
one.
his. This is Grit Factor by Logan Stout. We had him on. We did a little training in the Only Real Estate Group. I need to go and put it in the file section so everyone can have it. But go ahead and buy his book. It's the Grit Factor: The 15 Attributes to Doing Life Better.
Yep.
Talking about getting him on the show once
Yeah.
I know with COVID, cases back rising, I'm sure he's not coming back out
Yeah.
for a little bit. So if we can get him in studio, that'd be great. But Salesforce brings up 4 parts of reframing the questions, right? And once you understand it, the reason I go and look at other articles is because they break it down.
Sure.
Right? Because what we do day in and day out, can you tell me your entire process? Like you say you're not scripted. You are.
Sure.
You're relational.
Habitual, relational,
and you work your way through a process. But if you had to go explain that on video or write an article,
Can't do it.
you can't.
It's why the only video you'll find at touracademy.com/take10 is the one on agent referrals.
Yeah.
Because you know why? That is the most relationship-oriented class we teach on the entire thing, and it doesn't really require processes. It's like, here's kind of what I did.
That's what I love about that course more than anything. It's like it was one of the first courses we ever shot, and we didn't
So
understand.
bootleg, it's not even
we
funny.
didn't understand production quality at all. It's like Matt sitting in front of like this weird green curtain that I think he like bought beforehand. He's like in.
It was velvet.
Yeah, some weird room that just look. You know what? It look. This is so terrible. This looks like the video from when the Taliban killed that reporter like 15 years ago. It looks like that's. It looks like that room. It looks like a bootleg version that something terrible is going to happen to
not
Matt.
good.
It's not good quality.
We are reshooting all those videos, so if you want
Yes.
to see the new and improved videos, go
The
check it out.
information's dope. That's all I'm saying.
Right, so they break it down to under questioning to understand. So basically, if they were you're questioning the customer's reasoning and determine his emotional state. So like, why do you feel the price is too high? Why do you
Sure.
feel the commission is too high? Why do you think it should be priced this way? Right, and one, what that will also do is that will help you regain ground and get back on track. Right, because what will end up happening is there's going to be objections that are going to stumble you.
Yep.
Right? And being that nimble and quick on your feet will help you buy that time to bring it back, right? You get maybe you get a little wobbly wheel on that bike,
Yep.
and you've got enough control to bring it back in.
into it, yeah.
Yes, right? And
Like
so
this show today.
I feel I'm doing a pretty good job.
Nick's knocking it out of the park. I'm so glad he's here.
I'm gonna pat myself on I'm patting my own back right now.
He brought in the workout shirt today because he knew this was going to be a rough one.
Yeah. Sweating already.
It's like, I'm going to carry these bitches for 45 minutes.
It's hot in here. So number 2 of reframing the questions is minimizing, right? So by reframing the objection, using the closed questions to get them back on track. So it's and I forgot to write down the example on this one, but I'm trying to think of an example where you're
Continuing open-ended questions
Yes.
or will continue those types of conversations,
Yes.
right? So like you can use whatever example you want, but understanding motivation by asking what's important, don't ask yes or no questions. Continue the conversation because here's the thing. You're always having a conversation hypothetically with somebody who sort of knows less about this process and the current state of the market and all those things than you do, right? And so you're usually getting a limited amount of their perspective and a lot of their answers, right? And so finding their real motivation, they will allow you to overcome their own objections if you just continue to ask questions and keep the conversation going.
Right.
They'll almost tell you which direction they want you to take the conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I do this a lot when we're talking to expireds. Like, I can tell you right now, most expireds are going to want to talk to you about the previous agent's communication and the previous agent's shitty marketing.
Yep.
Right? Like, those are, if you want to focus on expireds, master that conversation, and you're going to have 95% of the conversation knocked out, right? Like, if you can fill those gaps for them. So some of it's knowing the lead source as well, right? I get smoked by FSBOs. You know why? Because I don't want to wait them out, right? Like, I don't want to wait. I don't want them to understand. Like, I'm not going to wait for you to figure out that you can't do this. Like, I do this every day. It's super hard. I'm pretty sure you're not going to be able to do it. And I'm probably not going to be the one that's sitting there at the finish line when you figure that out, right?
Yeah. But they're still all relatively the same.
Yes.
Right? So even expires and for sale by owners, you're going to face a little bit of some commission objections, right? You're going to face a little bit of you're going to face more on both sides, FSBOs and expireds, skepticism.
So absolutely.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of times that for sale by owners, they were expired
As I
already.
say, they're either skeptical because of the last agent or skeptical because of so
Right.
FSBOs a lot of time, they'll be skeptical from the jump. But either way, an expired is going to be skeptical for the same
So it's
reasons.
understanding, getting in that mindset,
Yeah.
right, and then walking them down that path, and then start using, when you're hurdling those objections, right, start using it with stories. We just saw that Michael Reese, if he's still watching, I don't remember what episode
Back
7,
in
8,
the
9,
40s,
10,
20s.
Derek can
20s.
chime in here in a second if he can dig
So
it up
Michael
for
Reese
us.
talked about, I think the book was Story to Win or something like that. It's about
Reese, if you're watching, comment whatever the hell that book was.
it's about using stories
Yep.
in your presentation.
Yeah.
right? It's the same. That's what gets people to really hook in and buy.
And the thing is, if you go back and watch that episode, he legitimately, even being aware of it, you'll see him do it during that episode at least 2 or 3 times.
Oh, absolutely. I will tell you the biggest example of this, and Nick can probably chime in too. The people that do this the best on earth are people who sell timeshares at all-inclusive resorts in Mexico.
Yes.
Man, do they have their storytelling
Yep.
down. There's always some hypothetical dude who bought the program who's so pumped about it that you're hearing about.
Just Bill Zarian it all over the place.
Dude, I'm telling you, that is their one and only technique. And I'll be honest, I still owe those guys a lot of money. No, I'm just kidding. But it works, though.
Did we talk about that last week?
We did. You
Yeah,
talked
because I
about
told
how
my
you got
terrible.
sold.
No, I was the
Or
one.
you did, yeah.
Yeah, I was the one who's like, for a free day at SeaWorld.
That's right. And so you can question their acceptance, right? So using a statement like, "Do you feel that our proven sales and marketing techniques and structure will help you get your home sold?" Right? So, or can you see value in what we're doing that will help you get your home sold for the best price possible?
That's one that you do a lot, and that's a really, really, really powerful continuing question.
And we will do that. Here's the thing. So it motivated me on today when I heard that. Look, I'm still bringing it up that Matt beat us.
It's so bitter.
Look, I'm a sore loser. Look, I want everyone here to win. I just don't want to be the one.
Yeah,
I don't want to
except
lose.
when we lose.
Except that when I'm losing to you, and probably vice versa, you losing to me.
I don't like it, dude. We talk about it too.
It's so funny because these guys are both exactly like that. Like Brian will Bobby Knight a chair across the freaking room if he doesn't win. But at the same time, I'm so uncomfortable with the fact that we're even talking about this right now. Like,
I love it because it doesn't bother. It's not even uncomfortable. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, where do we get better and where did we go?
100%.
wrong?
well, so let's talk about that, right? Because I honestly ask this question when I win and when I lose. And today I took a V, so I'll accept, like, that was cool, but I still ask the same question. When I lose, I say, what was it that I could have done differently that would have made a difference, right? Today, I legitimately asked the question. I said, why did you decide to partner with me, right? And legitimately, I have no problem even talking about this, it legitimately came down to pricing strategy and me helping them to understand, because I will tell you this, I hope I don't step on any weird, like, Trek laws I don't know about or some weird-ass shit I don't know about, but
Nobody watches this podcast.
at the end of the day, there was an overpriced expired that me and the other agent had both realized was overpriced, and we both came in with the conversation around where the more appropriate price was, right? So it sounds like the difference really in our conversation, this is directly from the seller, was just that I proposed a pricing strategy that allowed them to feel out where they wanted to be and then still effectively, efficiently, and quickly move into where the market may be.
Yes.
Because like Nick talked about, it is an albatross. It is a massive house in a neighborhood of much smaller houses. Yeah. So price per square foot is useless. Top of the market pricing is useless, right? You're trying to, like, just kind of figure out, like, this one has a pool, but it's also got this and it's got that. And you're just trying to back out all the numbers, right? They were agreeable to the strategy we came up with, and that legitimately came just from having a conversation with them in the house over an hour and 20 minutes and figuring out what they're doing. And by the end of it being like, okay, here's what we can do, right? I didn't sell them until minute 65.
Right.
Yep.
Right? The rest of it was just talking. I know where they're planning on going. I also understand this could turn into more transactions, right? There's all kinds of different scenarios that came out of just our hour-long conversation before I went into, like, here's how we're going to solve it. And I still didn't slide any paperwork across. Right? I found out this morning.
Yeah.
After following up with him last night. Because, by the way, if you're not sending some kind of follow-up after the appointment, you're missing an opportunity.
For sure.
Right? At the very least, it was very nice to meet you, yada, yada, yada. So then this morning, she's like, we're thinking it over. This morning we had a really great conversation. We were actually at breakfast when I was having the conversation with her, and she drugged me out, which I hate that because I thought for sure she was about to tell me murder got it, and I was gonna be like, son of a bitch, right? But and then I, just figured it out from there.
But that's where you were. They felt there was some runway with you where maybe our agent had more of a line in the sand. At least they felt there was some line in the sand, and it wasn't feeling like. It was almost feeling less give and take and more just take from the agent side.
Sure.
So and that is a gut feeling.
It
right?
is. You're dealing with people's emotions in that room. And here's the thing is, I've also lost a listing to Brian Murray. I've studied with Brian. Brian Murray's a badass agent, right?
Yes.
Like this is,
Yeah.
and I really, I kind of even hate that we brought everybody's name up because, again, but I also want to say that, like, I won that listing strictly because those people felt me a little bit better. Sure. I've lost listings because of that exact same
So
thing.
here's the thing. So one of the objections is price and risk.
Sure.
Right? And it doesn't mean what you're charging, especially on the real estate side. It could be how you're pricing your pricing strategy on the home. Right? It could be, hey, we're going to do this, right? I really think we should be at Y. We're going to try out Z. And then in a few weeks or after this, we're then going to go to this number, right? And it's that feeling out, right? And that's where if you're not truly understanding, right? You're not truly questioning to understand, you're not going to win. Right.
Or you just may run into this weird barrier where you don't necessarily have a solution that they find super jazzy too. Yep. Sometimes it's not a matter of not having the exact answer. It's either not having the chance for some rebuttal. I will say, and I can't remember if I got this from you or if you guys ever want to go back and watch a pretty solid video recorded listing presentation you can find on YouTube for either 2013 or 2014. Ben Kinney does his listing presentation in front of family reunions. It's cell phone video. The recording is shitty, but you can hear every word of it. And there's some stuff in there that I wouldn't do now. Like I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't do the bit with the dollar bill, right? Like you got this bit where he takes, just because the reality is nobody cares about your money.
What's that bit again?
It's the commission.
He lays a commission out and he's got the $3 bills and he said, one's for my broker, one's for taxes, and one's for me.
Business cards, yeah.
It's just, the thing is, what I've just realized is that the seller just doesn't care about your money. You just have to show them how you're going to get them more money.
Sure.
Explaining to them that your kid needs shoes, they don't give a shit.
Well, it's not going to work
their
against
kid
a
needs
discount
shoes
broker either, because one of those cards is going to go towards your broker, and you'll be like, I'll just take a flat fee broker instead
the
of
broker
you
You just have to show them how you're going to lose money but still make money.
And that's the thing is, and again, I think there's just, and that's something that I'm still learning at a super high level, right? Like I've said on the show before, I haven't been crushing listings for a very long time. It's the last 3 years of my 8-year career is where I've been more listing focused.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that you said that to kind of simplify things is that, especially in a unique situation like this where you kind of have a home that's not really comparable to a lot of the neighborhood and things like that, you got to give the sellers credit for knowing what they probably know, and that is that they have a unique property. It's going to be a little bit of a moving goalpost. Not being a know-it-all in those situations, and I don't think that a lot of agents try to come into it being that way. It's just a lot of agents come in prepared to handle every objection. And when we talk about handling objections, sometimes the best thing to do is not to handle objections, but to have a candid conversation about the knowns and the unknowns. And that's something that Kellerman does very well. And that's kind of a little bit more on being nimble in a conversation, is be honest, be thorough, know those continuing questions, and also be super candid with people, right? If they've got a unique property that you're not able to comp out real well, and price is really, really important to them, get away from price a little bit. Talk about here's where showings look like, blah, blah, so on, so on. Just talk a little bit more about the process of how we can find where the market is, because I'll tell you this. If you go into a listing appointment where even the sellers know it's a hard house to price, and you just rattle off some stuff about how you've got an exact dollar or whatever it is, they're gonna see through stuff like that. Yeah. I think that mindset transcends to a lot of different objections.
Well, and to finish what I was saying earlier is that because we lost to you, right? I was like, screw it. So I started calling and setting some listing appointments for myself to run.
There you go.
Nice.
Right? And so I set one for tomorrow, and as I'm talking to this person, right, it's knowing, again, it's free-flowing that conversation, right? Because, if you're just asking, like, what are you looking for? Well, this person was like, I don't know, I haven't sold a house in 23 years. And the reload company that when I bought here, the reload company did all the work for me. So I don't know, right? So I'm just walking them through. I'm like, look, I completely understand that. And saying, I applaud you because this person wants to interview more than one agent. I was like, great. We ask our clients to interview more than one agent because that way they
That's
get
a strong move, by the way.
Apples
folks.
to apples comparison,
Yep.
right? You can see a lot of the chest pounding that people do, and when you go and open that door, there's nothing there.
Yep.
Right? So we like for people to see that. And as I'm talking to her, she starts to
Open the door to their chest?
That's right. There's no heart.
Your analogies are so weird today.
I like it. It's like the
There's
Grinch.
no heart there. One with heart.
You're good.
That's what Rudy
All right,
says.
You got me. That's fair.
Yeah. And so from that, she was cold at first, right? And as we're having more and more conversation, she then starts telling me, "Oh, I want somebody who's not going to bullshit me around." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Tell me more about that. What do you mean by that?" Right? She's like, "I want someone who's going to tell me exactly what to do." Right? I don't want any of the showy, flashy stuff. Sure. right? Because the Rio company, she likes to be catered to and taken care of. Perfect. I know what I'm facing now when I come out there. That I guarantee you, my competition is not asking that and is not taking the time to find out, right? Because what do they want to do? Hey, Matt, when can I come out there and see the house? I see that you're interested in reloading to XYZ, and well, how soon do you want to do it? Well, ASAP. Okay, great. When can we meet? Right? Because what does that tell us? It's just set the appointment. No, I need to do some preliminary homework, so that I'm not walking into an ambush, and then I look stupid.
And here's what I want agents to hear in that too is like, don't use this as an excuse to for you to think you have to be perfect on the phone before you get on the phone, right? You need to start with these scripted go for the appointment type of thing. And what you'll find out, to what Brian's point was earlier, and I'm gonna say something here about Nick here in a second too, is that you'll find out that over time, you're gonna figure out why that doesn't work exactly the way that it's written on that piece of paper. It's not that it doesn't work sometimes, it's that it just doesn't work every time.
Usually the conversation just doesn't unfold.
But the paper is designed to get you in conversation.
It's designed to get you in conversation so then you can learn, right? There is a staggered process to this learning. And I think to Brian's point earlier, that can be internalized. If you guys knew kind of what Nick's setup was on the real estate side of his business, here's what I do know about knowing this guy for multiple years now at this point, is every single time that he picks up the goddamn phone, he sets appointments. Every single time. And I think there's agents out there who still are like, when we hear that appointment a day type of mentality, they're like, I can't set an appointment a week. How would I do that? There are people out there who have learned the skill. No, Nick's told the story on here. It wasn't like Nick was hardcore sales for this. He was freaking schlepping pizza. Right? So it's it's a learned skill that can get you to the point where I guarantee if this dude spent 5 hours a day on the phone, he'd set more appointments than potentially his team might set in a whole week, right?
Well, and that's a good point to make, and to give people hope that really are practicing the scripts and doing all that type of stuff. I'm not dogging on scripts at all, but there are agents out there like, oh, scripts don't work and this and that. I will tell you the best way to think about it, scripts are a roadmap to help you fuck up enough times until you can do it naturally.
That's it.
And they're very important though, right? You're not going to have conversations that unfold the way that your scripts do, right? But if you don't know the script, you don't know how to go off script.
Yep.
And that's huge, right? So practicing those things and just getting your repetitions is going to help you overcome anything in time.
Right. And to go back to the Jordan episode, right? I think that was 66, 65.
Maybe I actually started Googling the Reese one earlier and then got distracted.
Yeah, so
31.
Episode 31 is
that Michael Reese or is that basketball?
That's
Michael
Reese.
31.
Okay.
Michael Reese is episode 31. Go listen to that one. He does it. He will walk you through on really how to construct and tell that story. He does an amazing job at that. And then episode in the 60s, the Jordan-like mindset, where not just overcoming the objections, but it's about that consistency and routine. You're right. Yep. If I was back just doing this 5 hours, consistently lead genning Monday through Sunday, Monday through Friday, 5 hours a day.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right.
You'd be throwing appointments at agents all day long.
100%.
Absolutely.
Right, but creating routines is the number one thing that's going to help, right? And this helps us trust the process and not focus on the outcome.
Sure.
Right, so that's one thing that we talked about in episode 60-ish something with the Jordan mindset.
That's huge.
And once you have that routine down, guess what? You don't have to worry about objections because you're going to hear them every single day. The more objections you hear, the better you're going to get. Yeah. I'm going to tell you that I stumbled, and there are still times when I jump on the phones. I think we've talked about this on other shows, or if not, I've done it with Elizabeth, where I'm like, dude, I sound like shit.
Yeah.
Right? I literally can't believe I just said that.
Right.
And I still mustered my way through it.
I live for those moments when I'm lead genning, with a team or something. I'm just garbage, and then the phone call's over, and I'm like, oh man, there's no bullet holes in me. I'm still alive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those can be great learning opportunities.
Right. And if we go back to that Jordan mindset, that self-talk is using, it's helping you reframe and say that, look, I'm good at this. Right. Using those personal affirmations, which I never really believed before, because I really thought I was good at it anyway. I just didn't know any better.
They weren't affirmations; they were just the truth.
That was the truth. But it was just that was just my mindset. I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Right. And no one was telling me, well, you suck at this. Right. And that's what ends up happening is, if you're saying, I don't want to be a salesperson. Well, then you're not going to handle objections anyway.
I would say
right?
I'm the least salesy salesperson that I've ever.
But
met.
you handle objections, so
But
you're
I
actually salesy.
And I get that. But I think, but here's the thing: it's a mentality around what people think when they say that. They
Sure.
hear salesman and they picture like slick hair and like a suit
Slacks.
that's like, yeah, some suit that doesn't fit correctly.
Cut off
Yeah,
jean
out
shorts.
my
Yeah, cut off jean shorts. I don't know if we can get these on the camera. Hang on, Derek. Can you get these? I kind of want to. All right. You let me know when that's over.
Probably enough for that.
Good gracious. Some viewership just plummets.
Or skyrocketed.
Or skyrocketed, one or the other. Yeah, exactly.
That should just be Brian's billionaire idea, and he just stands up, says nothing.
Cut off skinny jeans. It's like
Boom. Idea
like
executed.
Spanx. It's like we could have one of those mastermind classes that I keep getting retargeted on freaking Facebook because I don't click off them. Now they've gotten so absurd. Like there's people on there that I'm like, why is this person teaching
There
me
was
anything?
one person that was teaching skydiving the other day. I was like, who needs a master class? Wait, what are we even doing now?
I think
If they
you
come out with a wingsuit one, I'm going to lose my
I'm
mind.
out. I'm out on that.
So it's really going back. What I would do, one is go back and re-listen to all 69 episodes.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Right. You'll pick up some objection handling scripts in there. One, and then leave us a review on iTunes. Because if you're going to go through all 69 on iTunes,
And not leave us a review?
yeah, that's messed up.
Well, you just obviously don't have anything better to do than listen to us. So at the very least, you should just support what we're doing.
Exactly.
I mean, we can only leave reviews for ourselves so many times.
Yeah, I only have so many moms, people.
Yeah.
I can't like.
Exactly.
I was
You only
gonna-
get so many people to leave me glowing reviews on
I
shit.
was going to go somewhere with that, but I'm not going to bring it up right now. So, all right. So
Are we done with this show
we are
yet?
done.
We
So-
normally try to go 45 minutes.
Derek, I was going to try and do a billionaire idea, but I don't even know if we got to load it up anymore. And it's not very good. Play it.
Derek's scream.
Oh, he just has it there just in case. Look how young you were.
Movie.
Hair was like a whole year ago.
The hair is horrendous. Nick dressed like Johnny Cash as usual.
I have this idea where like I'm gonna start because this is a 4th of July flavored one. I should have done this next week because next week's the week before 4th of July. But I'm gonna open the world's biggest fireworks stand. And I'm gonna have all these commercials for it, like monster truck commercials, where it's like biggest, biggest, and like everyone's gonna come and be so excited. And here's the deal: the problem with fireworks shopping is you usually don't do it until like right when you need it. So it's not like
Or you're
really-
drunk.
Yeah, you don't need it ahead of time. So like when people finally get to my fireworks stand on like July 3rd, they're gonna be very disappointed that my entire selection is just black cats and sparklers. It's going to be 75,000 square feet.
The two most boring
Just
fireworks.
Black,
man.
yeah.
What about those little snakes that like just come up like
Snakes that
turds?
just kind of come around or whatever. But we have all sorts of signage about how we're the biggest in the world. And like, here's the deal. I understand. I'm going to do a lot of lying too. Because
Biggest
I
in the
understand
world.
I live...
Of non-explosive
Yeah.
fireworks.
Can
We
you
all-
do a small asterisk that says like of sparklers?
Sparklers. No, here's the deal. Like, I understand we live in a world where like reputation is everything. So word is going to spread that this is not a good fireworks stand. So I'm going to be all in on lying about it. If somebody calls you like, hey, I heard you only had black cats and sparklers. Do you have bottle rockets? I'm like, we got tons of bottle rockets. They're going to come down and be like, hey, I came
just
from the
out
bottle-
last
Yeah.
week.
They're going to come down and be like, I came from the bottle rockets. I'm going to be like,
We're out. We never held
you are never going to believe this.
Somebody bought a whole
Just
trailer
all
full.
500 cases 10 minutes ago. I'm so sorry. But here's the deal. If you smashed a bunch of black cats together and put it on a stick, it's basically the same thing. And we got 75,000 square feet of them. So can I also interest you in a snake? It's going to take some salesmanship. I understand that.
It's been so long since we've had a billionaire idea.
That would
I forgot
overcome
how much I love
objections,
them.
though.
Exactly. I'll be a very well-refined
Yeah.
salesman after selling everybody
Brian just
stupid
shows up with black
snakes all
cats,
July.
chunk of wood, and duct tape, and he's just
That's kind of my plan. I was like, again, going back to the shopping thing, I'm going to build it out in the middle of the desert. It's going to be very far away. It's going to be 6 hours from every other fireworks stand. So that by the time you get there, you're going to feel so obliged or obligated to buy some freaking black cats because you're like, well, what the fuck else are we going to do for the 4th?
we drove all the way out here from Brian's.
it's going to take us
GD
until the
fireworks.
4th to get back to where we came from. Let's just get some stupid black cats.
Oh man, all is right with the world when Brian's thoughts come out on tape.
This is the first billionaire idea since.
This might be of 2020, dude.
We may have had some earlier. I don't know. I have to go back and look.
Since the COVID started.
This is the first post Telluride billionaire idea I've heard.
This is definitely post Escape from LA world, the first billionaire idea.
Look, you want to take
That's
more
a good
listings?
reference. Don't look at me like that.
Yeah, don't look at them like that. You want to take more listings? Go over to touracademy.com/take10. Sign up right now.
D, take us out.
Hey, thank you for watching. We truly appreciate it, checking out another episode of the Only Real Estate Podcast worth listening to. If you're watching this on YouTube, please go ahead, hit that share button, hit that like button, and hit the subscribe button. Right? We're dropping more stuff on YouTube constantly. If you're on iTunes, leave us a review, please. We're really, really focused on building up those reviews so we can get more searchable content on there. And if you're on Facebook, like everyone else is, go over and search the only real estate group worth being a part of. You're going to want to go join that group. I'm telling you right now, there's so much gold in there. So go join, share us on YouTube, and leave us that iTunes review, please. Go do it right now. We'll see you on the next show.